Hello, my name is Anna Cook, and this is my EDL 851 case study. So I first identified the problem. It's a rural demographic. The principal came from a classroom in the district. The principal was told, things run pretty well, don't rock the boat. And then we learn about this elementary first grade teacher, Mrs. Horton. She's seasoned. She used to be a teacher of the year. She went through personal issues and became very confrontational in the workplace. She showed resistance to new reading programs and acted out on teachers who supported it. Principal heard about the personal issues but didn't personally check in with the teacher, just hoped that they would resolve over the summer. There were parent phone calls and letters on record at the start of the year, and it led to a parent conference, and Miss Horton acted very inappropriately with the parent. What do I need to know? I first am curious about the evaluation process in the district. Our teachers rotated with evaluation? Is it tenure? Is it, are they ever at risk again? Can a seasoned teacher be put on probation? Is there protocol for preparing a meeting and holding a teacher accountable for outbursts in the meeting? So ultimately, the problem is the teacher is creating a negative learning environment for students because of personal issues. She's losing touch with the sense of professionalism and appropriateness. My proposed plan of action and strategies. First, because the superintendent was already involved with parents complaining, I would conference with other administrators and the superintendent, and I would document everything. I'd document complaints from parents, parent meetings, statements from other teachers who were berated, and create a kind of timeline that we could look at these events. I'd look into the evaluation process for the teachers. Is there a process for evaluation based on social interactions, professionalism, and appropriateness? And if there is not one in place, how do we propose something to address the issue at hand? I'd also review the teaching contract. Even if the evaluation process is not an option, somehow looking into the teaching contract, there was mention of tardiness issues, appropriate contact with parents, and I'm pretty sure that we could do some research and find some answers in the teaching contract. I would then meet with Mrs. Horton with another administrator in the room. I would present the complaints and the timeline. I would review the parent meeting, explain the lack of professionalism and overall behavior is now grounds for her to be back on the probationary process. What she needs to improve: professionalism, parent relations, and prioritize student comfort and achievement in her classroom. I would then look into what resources the district can offer. I know in my current district, they are really promoting self-care techniques, more gym memberships, discounts, counseling, things to help teachers take care of themselves so they can take care of others. So I would look into what resources our district can offer. I would present the timeline to Ms. Horton, and then I would let Mrs. Horton state her response for the record and respond accordingly to her. I would feel comfortable responding accordingly in the meeting with another administrator present and after having done everything I just listed. Resolving the issues based on promoting student success. What is best for the students? A positive learning environment for a first grade classroom. Mrs. Horton to be a support for students who does not evoke anxiety or negativity. With some data, I would want 0 parent complaints, 0 requests for students to switch out of her class. I would like for Mrs. Horton to adapt to the progressive new educational reading program that is trending. And I want 0 complaints from other teachers about her negative attitude. Debriefing the problem, identifying the issues. When I was reading this case study, I immediately experienced a fair range of emotions. I used to teach in a rural demographic. Several teachers came to mind when Mrs. Horton was being described. However, I had always viewed them as a coworker and not from an administrative point of view. I found myself the most nervous when reading about the conflict with the parent during the conference. I realized that a lot of my uneasiness, not just in this case study, but about administrative policies, is surrounded by parent conflict with teachers. And in this, both in this case study and in my personal experience. So reading that conflict, that was something I was very sensitive to. What issues are still unresolved or could use further investigation? When I was reading the case study, I pretty much had a gut reaction on what I thought would be an appropriate response. It took a few times of rereading the case study that I realized I should question and get examples of what qualifies as verbal abuse that was listed in the case study. Why was Mrs. Horton allowed to disagree with the other teachers who wanted to adopt the new educational program? It mentioned that the personal conference could not persuade her otherwise, so her behavior really should have been addressed then and there, potentially could have avoided the escalation in the parent conference. Promoting the academic success of every student. In elementary, it is so vital that the culture of the classroom, the curriculum development, and the relationship with the teacher are all positive and cohesive. The steps that I outlined in my plan of action align with making sure they are given an academic environment where the teacher is receptive to educational trends, arriving on time, and prepared to teach the students so they can maximize the time they are at the school. Promoting the well-being of every student. Personal well-being of students are affected by classroom climate, consistency, and positive presence from the academic leader. I aligned steps in my plan with mental and emotional health balance and addressing the issues that were listed in the case study. Students had been yelled at for making mistakes or would cry before coming to school. And so personal well-being of every student, they need to emotionally be in a good place to where they can maximize the academic achievement available. Instructional capacity. I promoted the academic success of every student by enhancing instructional capacity by focusing on educational trends and encouraging my staff to embrace the progressive approach to a reading program. I know how vital this is in a rural educational community. We need to take advantage in rural areas of what can make them rival or equitable to an urban educational community. Resources are available, but you have to be up on the trends in order to bridge that gap. I promoted the personal well-being of every student by enhancing instructional capacity by understanding the link between achievement, positive affirmation, and confidence developed in the early developmental stages. I'm making sure that they can see their teacher, who is educated and qualified to teach, can make emotional growth herself and rebuild a positive relationship with the students. I think it's really important that they see the change in Mrs. Horton and that she just is not removed or that they are switched to a different classroom. I think that is a much more positive statement that will carry with them in life a lot better. And it's healing. They're going to be more receptive rather than just feel like they ignored and were isolated from a problem. Thank you.